And the next read aloud is going to be a report from Group 17 by Robert C. O'Brien, who wrote Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim and The Silver Crown, both of which I have read to you. I have yet to read you Z for Zachariah. This is the first book it's the second book by Robert C. O'Brien I'm reading you that I haven't read myself, because I had not read Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim before when I read that to you. So let's look at a description of the book. A report from Group 17 by Robert C. O'Brien. Russians may buy Virginia estate. The Russian government has asked the U.S. State Department to approve the purchase of Wellington, a 27.5-acre estate at Ferry Point, about 5 miles upriver from Mount Vernon. A Russian submarine estate would correspond to the dacha maintained by the American Embassy, 16 miles from Moscow. The Washington Post, 10/21/71. There were several things about the tight little community of Russians instilled at Villa Petrograd that were disturbing. The sophisticated microbiological equipment, the private zoo that seemed unusually well supplied with primate specimens, the secrecy, but everyone knows the Russians are great animal watchers. Downstream from the villa, the city of Washington taps the Potomac for drinking water. Still, probably nothing to it. Robert C. O'Brien's exciting new novel, A Report from Group 17, takes the reader on a fantastical trip worthy of Ray Bradbury and Michael Crichton into the intricacies of the world of DNA manipulation, gene mechanics, and the larger implications of biological warfare. Espionage and counter-espionage, kidnapping and a murder that can only be called inhuman. The hero is Fergus O'Neill, a brilliant young virologist. His opposite, Helmuth Schultz, is a former Nazi scientist whose talents have now been countermanded by the Russians. The scene is Washington. The tension is extraordinary. A fast-paced tale of intrigue, science, and suspense. Born in New York City, Robert Carroll O'Brien grew up on Long Island in Manhattan, where he attended Columbia University and Juilliard School of Music. A long-term interest in microbiology and genetics provided the background for A Report from Group 17. Earlier books by Robert C. O'Brien are The Silver Crown and Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, both published by Atheneum. Let's see what it says on the back. He got sick 3 days before he died. At first, he only twitched, not all the time, but now and then, and she could tell by watching him that he did not know when the twitches were coming, because he would drop things he tried to pick up, and sometimes if he was standing and his leg twitched, he would fall down. As he got worse, he did this more than before and more violently, and began to drink great quantities of water, gulping enormously, then quitting, then starting again, as if no matter how much he drank, he remained as thirsty as before. She thought that drinking so much must be bad for him, and so apparently did the keepers. After a while, they stopped giving Abel, that was the name she had given him, Abel, any more water when he drained his pail. The remainder of this report is top secret. All right, this book was written 52 years ago during the Cold War. This is the second printing. The cover was drawn by Paul Bacon, or at least designed by him. This sounds like this is going to be probably a more adult book. We shall see as we go along, and I look forward to seeing you in Chapter 1.